If you've ever struggled with fear, doubt, or worry, and wondering what your true purpose was all about, then this podcast is for you. In this show, your host, Sylvia Worsham, will interview elite experts and ordinary people that have created extraordinary lives. So here's your host, Sylvia Worsham.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Worsham. Welcome to Release Doubt, Reveal Purpose. In this episode, we're going to be talking about habits, because habits are what gets us to the life that we want. And it is something that most people struggle with because they don't really understand how they've been programming their mind all this time. We don't think about these things. These are things that are stored in our subconscious mind, and we just do on automatic. So we don't really think about habits and the big role they play in keeping us stuck in our circumstances or moving us forward in our circumstances. So right now, one of the things that we wanted to discuss, or I wanted to discuss, was aside from limiting beliefs, fear-based beliefs, I wanted to discuss habits and how we can start moving in the direction of the life that we desire. So how can we do that currently? Right? So right now you're faced with, let's say you're faced with major change, right? And you want to start making healthier choices. For example, I'm going to use myself as an example. I am 49 years old. I'm turning 50 this year. And women in general, after a certain age, start to gain weight in areas that we never deemed possible. We find, I call them my angel wings. Like fat that gets like right below the bra area, and it just makes us feel not so good. I don't really like that. And I started to gain weight, even though I was exercising almost every day and I was watching what I was eating. But for whatever reason, I just kept gaining weight. So about a month and a half ago, I started to change my eating habits. I watched this video on Instagram and I was really intrigued with what this lady was talking about. She's a biologist. She's gotten her master's in biology. She's been a researcher in nutrition health for over 25 years. She has the credentials. You can tell she knows what she's talking about. And she talked about meta influencers. And I really got caught up in that. And I started her program. And I've got to tell you, I feel fantastic. My life has totally changed. And I still love the food that I'm eating, but I'm eating way healthier and I'm eating more strategically, meaning that I'm using meta influencers to try to burn the fat at a faster rate. Because at my age, no matter how much I exercise or how much I watch my diet, I'm still gaining weight in areas that I really don't want to even talk about here on the podcast. But so I started this change, right? And for anyone starting any kind of change, you're going to run into some issues about 2 to 3 weeks into making a change. You are going to start hearing thoughts in your head that are telling you, don't get up and exercise today, you're tired. And you start hearing excuses in your head. And then lo and behold, you stop doing the one change that was making you feel awesome. Do you know what that is? Is because you've encountered your ego identity. See, when change is around us and we are stepping into change, at the beginning of any program, we're going to feel super excited to start the program because all you see is all the benefits. You don't see the negative things that come into play until about 2 weeks into it or 3 weeks into it. Some people a month into it. And then they start hearing that inner voice that starts to talk to them and whisper in their ear, you can't do this. Who do you think you are? You're such an imposter. Whatever it is that you hear, and you stop doing the one thing that's making you feel amazing. And that I call the ego identity. Remember in the inaugural episode, I talked about your ego being your self-image? Well, when it's comprised of negative limiting beliefs and it's comprised of negative programming, that's what you're going to hear inside your mind. And your thoughts are going to promote this idea that you need to drop out, that you need to start something else because this isn't working and you're going to quit. And a lot of us quit. I haven't quit because I'm a coach and I know how this works. So I push past the ego identity and I push past those thoughts, and I have certain strategies that I wanted to share with you today on how I do that, because it really is, it takes all of your willpower at times to push past those doubts and those thoughts that are going to try to stop you from making the change that's going to make you feel amazing. So, first things first is realize that this will likely happen. The ego identity is going to step in. It's going to tell you lies. So be prepared for that to show up in your life. That's step number one. Realize that you have control over what you think and the thoughts that you'll engage with. So I would start making a list of what you need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing. And that is a technique I shared in my first book, Journey to Me, Trust the Wisdom of Change. And as I was writing the book, I interviewed tons of people on the topic of change and what their greatest fear was. And their fear of the unknown is a very big fear. Some people won't even step into change because the fear of the unknown, of not knowing what's going to happen, stops them dead in their tracks. And that's something for you to be aware of so that you understand how your ego may come into play 2 to 3 weeks into any change you make in any kind of habit. So again, do 3 columns. Start with all your good habits, things that you can continue doing. Like just that, if you can't think of anything, just start with your usual activities. So for example, in my case, because I started this new program, I'm going to incorporate it into my healthy lifestyle. And I'm going to create the identity of someone who is healthy. And to create that identity, it takes time and it takes consistency to do that, right? So on the continue column, I'm going to continue exercising 3 to 4 times a week, right? I'm going to continue my program of, making the shakes for breakfast, something that's simple for me. Maybe identify 3 different breakfasts that I can do, and I can switch around on the week so I don't get bored, right? Because I love variety when it comes to food. I'm going to continue doing those things. I'm going to continue walking my dog every single day, twice a day. So that's more exercise, more activity, right? I'm going to continue this program because it's a program that works for me. And then I'm going to start looking at the habits that are not working for me right now. What is it in my life that is taking a time and energy away from me? Because right now I'm going to need energy to be able to push past that ego identity that is going to show up. I'm going to need as much energy as I can fathom to push past that, right? So what are those negative habits that you have? I had a really negative habit of wasting tons of time on social media in the mornings. And it's during optimal times that I could be doing my work. I could be doing these videos because my kids are at school. So you know what? I kind of put it to the end of the day. If I wanted a break or I wanted to laugh or something, I would start watching Instagram Reels, for example. And I switched that around because I knew that was coming into play. And I will tell you, when you put things on paper and you see what you need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing, you really have a very good view of what you're doing in your life, right? And how your habits are contributing to the life that you currently have. Because it's all about what you choose to do consistently, because that's a habit, right? What are you consistently doing that you need to start doing, stop doing, or continue doing, right? So that's step number 1. Number 2 is, now that you understand ego identity and how it shows up in your life, now you need to understand, well, how do I start a new change? In my case, with this whole healthy outlook in life, I start to stack it with something else that I was already doing in my life. So in the mornings, my routine in the morning is I wake up at 5:38. I actually wake up at 5 a.m. I exercise on Mondays and Wednesdays. I exercise at a community center. I take a cardio skill class. So I get my exercise out of the way. I come back. I drink the Meta influencer instead of coffee. I drink this thing, but I have to drink it like 30 minutes before I have my breakfast. So I drink that while I'm getting stuff ready for my daughter, get her up, get her to school, come back, have my breakfast, walk the dog. See how that works? I am stacking that habit of doing, say, the drink that's going to promote the fat burning. I do it in between after I work out and before I have breakfast and while I'm getting my daughter ready. So I stacked it in my morning routine, and now it's just something I do. See how that works? So many years ago, when I was starting to learn to meditate, for example, I thought, well, when am I going to do meditation? And usually for me, when my mind is fresh, is usually in the mornings. And I would drink cups of coffee and have coffee chats with God. So I thought, well, why don't I stack my meditation habit with drinking my coffee and having chats with God? And once I did that, it became a habit of mine, and it became my identity quite quickly on, because I stacked it with something that I routinely did that was naturally, it fit in that habit easily, right? So meditation and coffee and chats spiritually with God fit very well together. So that's what I mean by stacking it. Stacking with something that you already do on a daily basis, and it actually makes sense to stack it with that, if that makes any sense. So let's review again. One point I made was about ego identity. Know and understand that this is going to come into play about a week, 2 weeks, even a month into your new habit. Okay. The second thing is to make that start, stop, and continue chart so that you can take a good inventory on what you're currently doing in your life and what you need to get rid of right now, because it's just not helping you. And what are the habits that you want to start implementing in your life? And I would start baby steps, guys. I wouldn't start doing like 5 different habits that are challenging for you right now, because change is really challenging. And a lot of people fear the unknown. So you got to know yourself really well. And third and final thing is to know that you've got this, that you have got to keep an attitude of I'm going to push through, and I'm going to stack my habit with something that I already enjoy in my life. And it's going to become a very easy transition for me. Okay? So once again, habits, they're something that we do on a daily basis. They are something that can really stop us, sabotage us, or actually help us move forward to the life that we want. I'm Sylvia Worsham. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Release Doubt, Reveal Purpose. Stay tuned for the next episode on faith and spirituality. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Love y'all.
So that's it for today's episode of Release Doubt, Reveal Purpose. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week who posts a review on iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $25,000 private VIP day with Sylvia Worsham herself. Be sure to head on over to releasedoubtrevealpurposepodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Sylvia's gift and join us on the next episode.